Hey everybody, it's Bethany here on this now rainy Wednesday. We're in the last week of April, so narrowing down this month. That means we only have one more month, May, to get retiring stuff. There's so much good stuff retiring. I've been trying on this Facebook page to show some pictures of cards that I've made with some of the stuff, just so you can have a picture of what's going. Today we're going to be talking about the Breathtaking Bouquet background stamp set, and we'll look at a little bit of some fun with Pigment Sprinkles, because those are retiring. I don't know why those are retiring. I love playing with those. And they're on sale for $16.10, and you get 6 colors. So I will talk a little bit about them and show you how to have fun with the Pigment Sprinkles, and then even just show you a few fun things you can do with our embossing folders. This year I haven't bragged a ton. I mean, I use my Big Shot all the time, my die cutting machine, but Stampin' Up is coming out with a new machine. It will be pictured in their new catalog that comes out in June, but it won't be available quite yet. They're still working on the process of production and excuse me, getting enough in, because I'm pretty sure they know that's going to be a popular item. But I'm so excited to be able to get my hands on their new die cutting and embossing machine. And they will have 2. I'll just give you that. So I can't give you a whole lot, and I can't share pictures yet, but you're going to sweep? Mm-hmm. What, just around the kitchen? Okay. All right. The boys are doing chores to earn their screen time, so I might have a few questions here. So what was I saying? Okay, so Pigment Sprinkles, embossing folders. I'm going to show you some of the magic of embossing folders. Some of them have retired. I was talking about the new die cutting machine, but that will be coming out. I don't know if it will be the end of June or July, but they said it will be sometime soon after the new catalog releases, so I'm very excited for that. It's going to be fun. So if you come on, just say hi. I love having visitors on these Wednesdays. It's so fun to have people join me, especially since I am missing all of your faces, friends, and hugging people, and it's starting to kind of get to me, I'll admit. Sometimes I feel a little crazy. I do love my family and I love my boys, but sometimes being with them 24/7 every single day, there's a reason why people get out and do other things and get little breaks from their people. So, but this room is a little bit of solitude for me. Usually they know to kind of leave me alone when I'm in my Stampin' Up room. So, hey Chris. Oh, it's too much rain? Darn it. It's just never right. Hi Sam. So I'll pray you just get enough rain. So, glad you joined me at least, Chris. So let's get started. I'm going to actually get started first thing with some fun with the Pigment Sprinkles, because I want to give it time to dry, and then I'll show you putting it together at the very end. So let me turn it around, and before I get to that, I'll just show you again. You can order 24/7 anytime from your pajamas, from the comfort of your home, at my website, thedrewdaily.stampinup.net, is where you can go to click on Shop Now and search up all the fun things. Pigment Sprinkles is not a stamp set, so that could go anytime, and it's 30% off right now. It's on sale for $16.10. So here's the number, 149663. And the Breathtaking Bouquet that I'm going to show you is a beautiful background stamp. It just is a gorgeous background, and I'm going to show you some fun that we can do with it. I have the woodblock version, but you can also get the cling version. So the cling is one that you could put on a huge block, acrylic block, or you could use with your Stamparatus if you have a Stamparatus. And there's fun things you can do when you get the cling with the Stamparatus. And that's just $16, 151612, where the wood mount is just a few more dollars, 152,201. But I like that it's already mounted. I just can pull it out and start stamping. So there's no perfect scenario. And then, well, I'll tell you about the other things later. We'll come back to that. So I have used one of my old paper pumpkin boxes as a little spray box when I'm using my pigment sprinkles. Now I'm going to use the red from last year. They had, it was a different company I think that they got it from, but the set that you get when you order the 6 colors for only $16, it's Mango Melody, which I'm going to use Mango Melody. It also comes with the Daffodil Delight, Bermuda Bay, Granny Apple Green, Melon Mambo. Yeah, Melon Mambo. And I believe this Gorgeous Grape. Yes, Gorgeous Grape. So you get 6 colors. They're really fun. I've shown you these before. It makes great skies. Here's some with the mountains, that mountain set. Here's another one that I showed. So it's really fun to do sky scenes. And it'll last you forever. So here, this looks like nothing right now. I embossed, so I'm using our thicker watercolor paper, which I think right now you can't order the watercolor paper. I don't know if it's on back order, if you just can't order it right now, but the watercolor paper is amazing. It really is the only paper. You could maybe use the Shimmer, our Shimmer white cardstock too, but the regular Whisper White will not work when you want to use your pigment sprinkles. But these will literally last you forever. Oh my goodness, because there's a ton of powder in these containers. So the old ones, we actually had to pierce through the top. I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit over my big flowers. I don't really care about there being too much rhyme or reason to the color, because it's just going to be fun once it spreads. So I put a little bit of red, and here's where the new ones that you guys would order are really awesome, because you just unscrew the lid and this thing just pops up, and then there's 3 little holes. So these come out a little bit faster. So I'm just sprinkling literally 5 or 6 sprinkles, and it will be more than enough. Now, I sprinkled it on dry. I seem to just like this technique better. Now you just start spritzing it. And get it as wet as you want, because it will start, if you don't want the colors to run together, then you just take a paper towel. And then I'm just going to dab that to dry off some of the excess water. Isn't that so pretty? Oh my goodness. Just spritzing it over that. So like literally no work is needed. And because you've just spritzed it and gotten it really wet, I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll show you how to finish that. But isn't that so much fun? Oh my goodness. These pigment sprinkles are amazing. They're little work. If you want to have fun with watercoloring, there's so many things you can do. Because you could, if you wanted to be more intricate, you could wet just the flowers you wanted to color and then sprinkle it on. But I like the fun technique of just sprinkling it on dry and then just spritzing it and watching the colors meld together. It's so much fun. Okay, so I'm going to sit this over here to dry, and then we'll show you later the finished projects. I'll end up using my heat tool if it's not quite dry in time. Okay. What did I want to show you next? Now here's another easy, but then I stepped it up with the big shot with one of our border dies from the Ornate garden dies. So with totally different colors, I just spritzed with the Gorgeous Grape, and I just sprinkled it on one side, but when I sprayed it really spread out. But I did leave one side white, and when I cut out the border, so the flowers are white, so that was still cut out of the watercolor paper. But that's all. I embossed this one in black and then spritzed the Gorgeous Grape over it, and then just stamped You Made My Day on there, and I put it on the background of Purple Posy. So the purples are really pretty too. Here's a super, like, for beginners, a beginner card, and it's a fun way to get multicolor, but really simply. And that, for that, I just took my whole ink pad. I think I used Gorgeous Grape and the Grapefruit Grove, two of our in colors that are saying goodbye, which I'm kind of sad. I'm always sad when our in colors go. So for this, I just took my whole ink pad. Actually, I think I started with my lighter color first. I started with the Grapefruit Grove, so I inked up the top, and then afterwards, well, I just touched my ink pad. Afterwards, I did the darker color last. So I just inked up the background with two different colors and stamped it down on white. And then I used my Wink of Stella glitter brush, is why you see a little bit of bleeding of the color. I used my Wink of Stella, so I don't know if you can see the sparkle to the flowers too that I added. So that bleeds the color a little bit, also adds a little sparkle to it. And then I just used a strip of the Grapefruit Grove to go across there and stamped a little sentiment, We're the Best of Friends, on there. So that was a super fast and easy card where you make this background kind of the highlight of your whole card and just do a little strip for your sentiment. So that's a fun way to color it too. Now I will use this stamp set for the card I'm going to show you, but I did want to show you some fun with embossing folders. Our embossing folders just add a pop of wow to a project so easily. So if you get the new die cutting embossing machine, I hope it comes towards the end of June or July. Our embossing folders are just amazing. I love them all, and I will not sell most of the embossing folders that are going. I don't sell them. So isn't this pretty? I'm going to show you what I did there. And I got this idea, I think, from one of our artisans. Now I can't remember her name. Our artisans are great people to follow because they have just really pretty designs. I think it was Caroline Van Straten, one of our German demonstrators. So it's just a thick white cardstock base, and I've got a circle punched out in white that I'm going to stamp with my background stamp. And I do love, this is, I don't know if you can see in the light or not, but this is the Shimmer white cardstock. I love our Shimmer white cardstock because the whole thing has a subtle sparkle to it, the whole thing. And then I'll show you, I used this is a border, so another one of our border dies from those Ornate dies. We have so many cute dies, because this was the other skinny die that I used from the Ornate dies. So as you see, I've mentioned that a few times, but I'm using the other one with just the cute little circles with this green one. So what I'm going to do is show you, there's multiple ways that you can kind of color. I think in a few weeks ago I had showed you color blending. Let me get some scrap paper. And you can use this with just your regular sponges. You could use it with your sponge daubers. I'm going to show you using our sponge roller. So there's a few different kind of sponge options. So I'm going to get this covered, and I had done that purple one with this same roller. I just washed it off under the sink with a little water, and because it's water-based, it will clean off. So I'm getting it good and coated in that green. So this is Granny Apple Green. I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to press harder on the bottom, and then I'm going to move my way up so it gets lighter. And I'm going to do that one more time. And I always start on the bottom and then move my way up. So starting on the bottom, I'm pressing a little harder on the bottom. And then I'm moving my way up. I'm not going to go all the way up because I want there to be a slight tint of white. Isn't that fun? So it just gradually gets lighter. I'm going to move it back down just to kind of keep, sorry, I kind of got out of the picture. Move it all the way down just to kind of keep blending. If you want to press down, then your fingers get a little bit more inky, but it's art, right? Art for a reason. Okay, so that already looks pretty, but now I'm going to show you the magic of putting it through an embossing folder. Oh my goodness, I'm really getting myself messy today. Which folder was I going to use? I used, this is the Parisian one that I used with the purple, which is really pretty. I think I'll use the one that matches with the Ornate Garden Suite. Is the Ornate Flowers embossing folder. And I'll just emboss this whole thing. So I just put that in the folder. I'm going to run it through my Big Shot. I'll be right back. And seriously, this is the beauty of... Ooh, a surprise, Chris! You just made my day. That's so exciting. I love surprises in the mail. Usually we get junk in the mail, right? Isn't that fun to then emboss after that? That gives it some more depth to it. It just makes your project so pretty, and that really wasn't a whole lot of work, right? I literally just sponged over that, then embossed it. Now we're going to add our stripes to it, or the little sides. So one of them I already cut. Thanks for the love, Chris. Thanks for the visit too, for coming along. I'm just gonna do some snail along the side of the back here so I can then line up my border side. So I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to run this through. It is a beautiful folder, isn't it, Chris? It really is a beautiful folder. So the side with the stitches is the side it doesn't cut. The side that has the edge on it that you can see, that's the side that it will cut. So I'm going to move it all the way out to the edge before I run it through. I run it through my Big Shot. Hey, Teresa, did you just come in? I'm going to cut this border and I'll be right back. Now I wanted to show you right when I take it out of my Big Shot. When you get, now this is an older one, but there's actually a brush attachment when you get the pickup tool. This is our pickup tool. So there's a little spatula end, there's a little putty end that you can pick up little sequins and small things and place them on your cards. On this end, there's an attachment for, yay, Teresa, I'm so glad you visited me. There's an end to put a little brush tip on here. Now, a lot of these borders, see the holes are already out there, but I take my brush, and when you get your brush tip, you get this little foam mat. A lot of these intricate in the Ornate Garden suite especially have these tiny little pieces. So I do like using my little foam mat because then I can brush it right over that foam mat and then dump it in the garbage so it doesn't go everywhere. So I literally take my cutting pad right off close to the garbage where I can swipe everything off. Okay, and isn't that a pretty border? This is why I love our die cutting and embossing machines, because they just do amazing things so simply. That was little work. I just had to run it through. Let's see, I want to see this way. So I'm going to line this one up. How cute is that? How pretty is that with a little, so Teresa, you missed it. I used our sponge roller and I sponged, this is just one color, but if you start down at the bottom always and press harder and then go up lighter, it just changes the variation of that color, which is so fun. Now I can put this up with dimensionals. I'm using all my corners. Just peel off the backs of those dimensionals and pop that up. And then I'll show you another way to use the Breathtaking Bouquet stamp set. Again, I'm kind of sad. I feel like this this background stamp set was a little bit of a hidden treasure that I don't think people saw. I think they could have given it more time. Let's see, where do I want to put this? I think I want this up here. So I just cut out a little circle, and I'm going to use another piece of paper. I'm going to show you when I use this big background stamp set. So I'm using, this is all Granny Apple Green I'm using. I'm turning my stamp set around, and I leave it just up like this. Then I just pat my ink over the stamp set. So this is when I'm doing first mark. Anything that I'm inking up, I just ink this way. All right, I think that's enough space. Then I'm going to put this where I want it to go, right around there. And so I don't get my fingers all inky, I just use another scrap piece of paper, and I just press all the way around. Make sure I got even pressure on the whole area that I want to be stamped. You can see I've done it before. Then peel it off and voila! Isn't that fun? So you just get the pretty border of that. And I'll show you what I did in my other card that I had showed you. This one, when I did the multicolor, I said I used my Wink of Stella glitter brush to kind of spread out the colors. So here I'll show you, and I'll just do that with the leaves. Notice I had a little color on it, I believe, already. So just with the leaves in the back, I'll kind of bleed the color. Maybe I'll do the center of that. Okay, then you can add that onto your card and pop that up again with dimensionals, because you guys know I love dimensionals. So this is a fun way to still use that background, but just spotlight it, and you could stamp it and punch it out a few times if you wanted to use the whole background. Let's see, put it like that. And then all I have to do is add a little sentiment. Let's say I want to say my friend, because I really love my friend. That one's from Ornate Garden Suite too. And use my white. I've been showing this a lot too, because really, friends, if you don't have a Whisper White the craft pad, it is just amazing, and it's so much fun to use on black, on dark colors. It's really awesome. I love it. And another thing, if you don't have, you should totally invest in our, and I've kind of talked about this lately too, but our chamois is so nice. It's so easy to wipe off that color. There's no lint on it. It's really nice. I love our chamois. Now this I can just cut out. I want it to be kind of right around the sentiment. So I'm just going to fussy cut right next to it. And I'll trim it a little bit on the sides. You cleaned your room, sweetie? Thank you. Can you wait? I'll get it out for you, but just wait till I'm done with my video, okay? It's just messy. Oh, that's so sweet. Sam said he cleaned his room, so can I play with Play-Doh now? I totally want him to play with Play-Doh. I'll get it out for him. But I just know if he gets it out for himself, it'll be all over the place. And I like putting out mats so it doesn't get stuck. Okay, where do I want to put this? I think closer to down. And then you can just add my friend there in the black. So I've used I did use the white craft, but really only one ink, the Granny Apple Green. And then I used some of these clear, I forget what you call these, clear epoxy droplets or something. It's fun to put something that's not cardstock on your project. It just adds a little extra. And again, with little pearls or whatever, I like just using 3. It's not too much, not too little. Isn't that fun? Green, who knew that green could be so pretty? Okay, so this is a purple version and embossed with that Parisian beauty and used different ornate border. And then this is green. And I rolled the color over the shimmer. So this whole, the shimmer white cardstock has some sparkle to it already, which is really pretty. Isn't that fun? You like that? I'm telling you, embossing folders are amazing. All right, I already showed you this one with the pigment sprinkles in purple. Here's another thing you can do with your embossing folders, is put part of your paper in the folder and then leave some space and then put it through again on the other end, and you leave a little space there where you can actually stamp a sentiment right on that paper that you've embossed. And with this one, I haven't put it together yet because I wanted to show you that you can barely see the border, but I did stamp the Rococo Rose, so same color on the Rococo Rose paper, and then I just pierced with my little scissors. I pierced through it and I cut a center around the flowers that I wanted to actually just cut out. And then this looks a little bit roughed up and antiqued because I actually squished it and I kind of broke up the fibers and I actually peeled it into 2 pieces. So this piece is actually from these flowers when I separated it into 2 pieces. That's how awesome our cardstock is. It's so thick you can actually scrunch it up and peel it into 2 pieces. It's amazing. I love our cardstock. So I did want to just show you that out of this same background, I cut out those flowers. So you still see a little bit of the border of what I've stamped, but then I used those flowers for the front of my card. So again, there's fun ways to use, if you're going to be, I always try to use the paper that I'm going to just see a thin border of and I'm framing it, or it's nice to be able to use some of that paper in the background somehow. So with this one, that's a fun way to do it, is just use those flowers. Now there's going to be a tiny little white border because this is just like an 1/8 inch smaller than the size of a card. So there's a tiny little white border even outside of my Rococo Rose border. Isn't that pretty? And again, I used the My Friend. Now this is the Tufted embossing folder. Again, this is one that's retiring, and I will not sell this one. I love this one. Don't you love it? The like quilted looking pattern. So this is one, if you love this, the Tufted look, you'll want to get that before it goes. The embossing folders, they don't guarantee to hold through May like the stamp sets. It's just while supplies last. So this is one I would highly suggest. I love the Tufted. It's so pretty. Thank you, Chris. All right, so to quickly show you what I meant, if you were like, what does that mean? How I got that little border, I'll show you quick. Again, using Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to use the flowers here. So what I'm saying is you just put in your cardstock so you don't fold the whole thing in at once. I try to keep it as straight as I can because I want a straight border in the middle. And I'm going to run it through the Big Shot, and I'll put this part through my Big Shot first that's sticking out. All right, now I've got this much embossed, and I'm going to take my embossing folder and I'm going to leave a little border to keep open so I can stamp a little saying or something on there. Okay, so now I'm going to stamp the other side, or not stamp, but I'm going to put the other side, just that little bit, through my Big Shot as well. And how fun is that? Isn't that beautiful? And it leaves that little border. And because I have My Friend out, I'll just use that in black. Stamp that up. I'll put that over here. My Friend right in the center. So it's kind of fun leaving that flat space. Kind of helps you really highlight what you want to say. And then what I can use with that, where did I put those little birds? I have extra, I think I took a whole sheet of my, this is something else that's retiring, is this Bird Ballad designer paper. Oh my goodness. Friends, if you do not have this Bird Ballad designer paper, I would highly recommend you get it. It's so wonderful. And a lot of their designer papers on sale right now too. But it took, I think, just one sheet of the 12 and fussy cut a lot of the little birds here out because they add, just the fussy cut little birds add so much to it. So because I've already done that, those are ready to go. And I can just add them quick on a project. And this one seemed perfect to me, a simple white background. And just this bird with the flowers right here. And really that's all you need, right? I mean, you don't need to do a whole lot more. And then I would just put it on a white background and voila, you have a card sent to your friend that's like a hug in the mail, yay! Now I wanted to show you something similar. Here I left a space in between, but this is something else you can do, is run just part of your cardstock through the embossing folder, but the other way. So if you wanted to, I don't know where I put that other piece. So if you wanted just part of that, then I would just put it through the side going lengthwise, and then our embossing folders can run through the Big Shot going this way too. You just want to be careful of the binding. But that is another way that you can emboss just part of the front of a card or a piece of the card. And leaving some of that open space. I know, aren't the birds beautiful? I love them too, Teresa. I'm telling you guys, this bird ballad paper is really beautiful. I love it. In fact, if I can find the sheets quick, I'll show you. I think I've showed you before, but this is, so one of the papers that I think I fussy cut a bunch of those flowers out. They're so pretty. And the other side is this pretty delicate, the pink, pink, but with white polka dots. Then there's these cute birds that you could also cut out or just leave as a background, and fun stripes. Then you've got feathers and little bird cages, which are cute too. And there's also this cluster of really, really pretty flowers that match kind of the stamp set, and then some keys with green background. There's a couple more designs too, but they're just so pretty. So I do highly recommend the bird ballad paper. So isn't that pretty? Again, white embossed. When you emboss your white paper, it just is so beautiful. I love it. Another thing that you can do with embossing folders, and this you might not be able to tell really well, but no dies. I know I even wrote to Stampin' Up and asked if they would make dies for that bird set, but let me tell you, hint hint, there are some, I think there are some bird dies coming out in the new catalog. But just saying, a little birdie told me. No pun intended there. Actually, yes, pun intended. So on this card, I put designer paper, these 3 panels on this bigger white panel. And before I put it on the card, I actually put the whole panel through the subtle embossing folder. So can you see that subtle texture embossing folder is awesome too. If you guys don't have the subtle embossing folder, it's an amazing, I just love the, I mean, it is what it is. It gives you a subtle texture to it. So you can also run your designer paper and a panel through your embossing folder too, and that adds some fun texture as well. So I'm telling you, our embossing folders are really amazing things. So I hope you like what I showed about the embossing folders. Now let's get back to other ways that you can color, in this background set. Now, I'll be honest with you, this is, I had a different front on the card. I think it was retired and I didn't really like how it turned out. So I actually peeled off the paper off of the front, and I'm just going to use it for this card now. Again, making good use of all my paper. Okay, so it's hard for you to see, but can you see the shimmer on there? This is regular Whisper White cardstock, and I just Versamarked up one side of the stamp, and then I just in Versamark in the sticky pad, so I just put down one side of it in the Versamark, and then I put white embossing powder over it. And I'm going to show you using your sponge daubers then are another fun way to color in your project. And then I'm going to show you some watercoloring. All right, so again, I'm kind of talking about some of the colors that are retiring colors. So our 2018 to 2020 colors are the Lovely Lipstick, the Grapefruit Grove. That I'm gonna miss that color. It's pretty. They were very much like kind of like primary colors. The Pineapple Punch. I love this bright yellow. We're gonna use that in it. And then there was the Call Me Clover and Blueberry Bushel colors too. So those are colors that are retiring, and I think some of the stuff is already gone because everyone knows these colors are retiring. They go fast. Okay, so I'm using my sponge dauber, and I'm just going to use a red and terracotta tile and a Pineapple Punch I'm going to make these flowers red. So this isn't an exact, you just kind of, I usually try to start kind of towards the middle of my flower. And let's see, this one I wanted to be red too. So towards the middle, then go out, because then it kind of gets lighter as you go. I'm going to use, maybe I will actually get some green out. Tap, tap, tap on my pineapple punch. I'm going to make this flower yellow. So this is fun because when you sponge over something that you've embossed, it resists the lines that you've embossed. So it's so nice. You just sponge right over it and out pops the flower. Isn't that fun? And I'm going to make these little red, or the orangey terracotta tile. So there's a couple flowers here that are more, you know, like trumpet flowers or something. Well, that's the same as, I'll make that one yellow too. I thought there was one more flower down here. And again, if you get something colored that you didn't want to have colored, that's fine. But isn't that fun? And I'm going to add a little bit of that terracotta tile in the middle of these flowers. Maybe that was a little bit too much, but. And I wasn't going to do green, but I really do want to see the green. Hey Rachel, how you doing? Since I'm using most of the in colors, I'll get out one of my green sponge daubers, and we'll use, this is the Call Me Clover, so it's another one of the fun colors going, and I'm going to sponge over all the greenery. And again, not an exact science. Get some of the green in the corner over there. So I'm letting some of it be really subtle as I go out close to the middle of the card. It's really subtle and light. Yeah, isn't that pretty, Teresa? So this is a fun way to color this background stamp set too, or any flowers that you have. Emboss it on white, and then you can just sponge over. And then it's not, you know, perfectly in the lines or anything, but it's a very pretty. And then I've got the Mango Melody in the background here, which kind of goes with the orangey and the yellow. And then you could just put a sentiment here, and it's so pretty. You don't really need to add a whole lot more to it, right? So there's sponging. Oh goodness, I keep touching my ink pads. All right, you guys ready to see some watercoloring? There are so many, I'm telling you, I'm not even showing you all the different ways, but I did want to show you just how beautiful this Breathtaking Bouquet stamp set is and how many different ways you can use it. It really is a versatile stamp set, and it's just one background stamp set. So this one I embossed already in gold. I just showed you embossing powder and stuff last week, so. Oh, and I did want to ease, if any of you were worried that embossing powder was going to go, there is going to be embossing powder in the new catalog. It's just not going to be as many. Like, I don't think we'll have gold or copper or some of those fun ones. So, and there's a couple that are already gone. So if you want some of those retiring embossing powders, I would go get those because they're amazing. Okay, so Aqua Painter. These last a really long time. This one I have down that I bought in 2010. And I did also want to point out our Versamark pads, the really sticky pads. I bought this pad in 2004. I didn't refill it with the refill Versamark till 2012. It doesn't, you know, it lasts a very long time. Where I have another Versamark pad somewhere, don't I? Yeah. This one I bought in 2005, so I have two. I refilled it in 2012, and I just refilled this one again in 2020. So the Versamark pad lasts a really long time. I have owned this for 15 years. I've only had to refill it twice, the Versamark pad. So it really is an amazing thing. I love it. So the Versamark pad is just what gets it sticky, and then that embossing powder on there. Now, with this one, I've already backed it on Bermuda Bay cardstock. And this one, I'm not going to watercolor a ton of colors. I'm just going to use Bermuda Bay. And again, I'll start kind of in the middle. I'll just do some little pieces here. I'm just going to kind of stick with the flowers and color those in. And I think I'm going to keep the leaves just the gold. But I'm keeping this really light, really pale. This one I'll do a little bit darker, but as the more that you watercolor. Now I did this, I think, on our Shimmer white, I want to say, because the Shimmer white cardstock takes watercoloring much better than just our plain Whisper white. Or your thick white could do that as well. Color that in dark. But the Shimmer white is really pretty because it has a little sparkle to it already. Do this one as well. And isn't it pretty when you emboss, again, whether you're watercoloring or sponging, that whatever you have embossed is resisting the ink, so you don't have to worry about ruining the lines. It's so nice. Maybe I'll just do the center of this flower. That one. And then I'll just take my brush after I've kind of watercolored and just get a couple little spots where I get a little bit darker, just to add a little dimension to that. And it's also just because I want to use up all my ink, so I'm not wasting any of my ink refill. I'm just using it all up. Isn't that pretty? Just adding that little Bermuda Bay in there. I'm going to soak it all up and get the centers of those flowers. That one in. And really lightly over these here. All right. So that's probably the easiest way to color or watercolor. Hey, Amy. I sure miss all of your faces. Wish I could be seeing you in person. But this is the easiest way, is when you've embossed, just use one color. And then I can simply add, this is from the Peaceful Moments stamp set that is still staying in the new catalog, yay. That kind of matches with the poppies. So I'm just going to make it a happy birthday. Sticking with Bermuda Bay. And I'm going to stamp it all the way over to the side because I think I might trim this off a bit. Just so that I cover up as little flower as possible. See, I might end up covering that whole thing. Put that inside that. And these scalloped rectangles are from the, what is that set? The So Sentimental bundle. That's what it's from. Let's see, where do I want to put this? Let's put it right there. And then I'll just use the back edge of my cardstock to see where I trim that off. And because it's in gold, I think I'll add some of these gold gems. And these are from the Ornate Garden Suite. Now here's where I forget to take out my pickup tool. But this pickup tool really is helpful when you remember it. Because that putty on the end just picks that up for you, and then you can just use your finger to press it down. And I'm going to put that right in the center of both those flowers, or close to the center. And there's 3 little gems on there, and isn't that gorgeous? Oh my goodness. So pretty, and just in one color. Alright, so that's one more way to color the pretty breathtaking bouquet. It is breathtaking, isn't it? Beautiful. This one I'm not going to show you. I will tell you. I embossed this. If you can see, there's a gray background. So I used smoky slate cardstock, and I embossed white over the gray. So that deepens it a little bit when you're watercoloring. And I did get this idea from Rochelle Block, and she again is one of our artisans, because I love the idea of making it a little bit lighter. These 2 pink flowers I didn't watercolor with the white first, but I took my white craft pad that I showed you, and I colored in this flower, the yellow flowers, and the purple flowers with a little bit of my white first. So that lightens it up first before you add your color on. Then I put the Flirty Flamingo color on there. And you can tell a little bit that this pink flower is a little bit lighter and a little bit brighter. So that's one way to kind of lighten up the colors if you're watercoloring over a darker color like gray. But isn't that so pretty? Watercolored over gray. So pretty. And such a different look, right? The final thing that I'm going to show you before we get back to my very first project that I did is, if you really want to feel like an artist, there's the no line watercolor look, or kind of faux watercoloring look. Now I am, you guys too probably relate. You're your worst critic. When I look at this, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't really great. Because I really don't consider myself the best watercolor artist, which is why I really do love the embossing, because then I don't have to feel like I'm gonna mess up the lines or anything. Where this, I'll show you, and there's people who I know have watercolored their whole, for a long time, and they just know better how to mix and match colors, and it turns out so beautiful. Where mine, it's okay, but again, you probably still think it looks pretty, right? It just looks more like a watercolored painting instead of, so it doesn't look perfect, but it's fun to shade in those colors. So I want to show you, again, I did this on watercolor paper. I won't show you the total finished project, but I also had the idea of, again, because I wanted to show you embossing folders, I used 2 of my stitched rectangle dies, and then I embossed it with that wood grain embossing folder. Because I thought, oh, how perfect. If that looks like a painting, I could just put that frame right over my painting after I finished watercoloring. And I'm not going to watercolor the whole thing for you, but I am going to show you what I did. Now this is Sahara Sand, or if you have Crumb Cake, so one of your lighter neutrals you want to use. And I want to make sure I clean this off before I use it with Sahara Sand, since I think the last time I used it with green. So do make sure you have cleaned your stamp before you switch to a different color. Yeah, I'm glad a few other people showed up a little bit later. Better late than never, I always say. I am usually running late anyhow. Okay, so again, if you just are coming on, or you came on a little bit later, when I'm inking up, whether I used my Versamark pad or any colors, I just use the stamp face side up, and I pat my color all over the place, making sure that I've got the whole thing covered. the Versamark is a little bit tricky, but you can usually see when it's covered because it looks glossy when you kind of look at it in the light. So again, this is Sahara Sand. It's one of our lightest grays. And I'm making sure even the center flowers are inked up all the way around the edge, even though what I'm watercoloring is not the whole size. I still want to get it all good and covered. Okay, now this is a light color, but I'm still going to stamp off once. So I'm going to press and stamp it off just once. So now you're getting a really subtle color, okay? Let's see, where do I want to actually put it down? I think I'll put it right here. Okay, so I'm putting my cardstock down, and this I'm using watercolor paper again, so this is watercolor paper. And again, I'm putting a scrap piece of paper down so I don't get my fingers all inky. Sorry, I just bumped the camera again. And this, I find, is the best way to make sure, especially because this background stamp set is such an intricate, the little flowers and leaves and everything in there. So I'm pressing over the whole area, making sure that I'm going to get all those flowers inked up well. And it's watercolor paper too, so it's a little bit thicker and a little bit more porous. So I do want to make sure I have it good and covered. You think it's good? I think it's good. Let's hope. All right. So some of it came out a little darker, but that's fine. I'll show you as we start watercoloring. It's just good to have, the lines so that you know kind of where you're going and where you're headed. And again, now here's where I begin my journey of a little bit of insecurity, because I do not consider myself to be the best artist, which is why I do love stamping. But I have mostly the primary colors, the ones that are going. So Lovely Lipstick. I do have Terracotta Tile, which is one of our current ones too. So a little bit more of an orangey. Yellow, so the Pineapple Punch, the Call Me Clover, and the Blueberry Bush. So I'm using those primary colors to do this. And it's fun as you start seeing that you can mix and match the colors. So I'm going to start with an orangey. And when I start watercoloring with this look, I want to start with it pretty watered down, because I'm going to start with light color. And then later I'll add in the shading of it. So I'm kind of just coloring in the main image. And later I will make it a little bit darker. And that's where, when you can still see faintly the lines, that's nice, because I'm watercoloring inside the line still. And then I can follow those lines for making my shadowing and stuff. So here, after I've colored in the flower, well, that's coming out really wet. Get some of the ink out. It is nice how it comes to a tip, and then I can go around those lines with the same color, but I'm just taking it a little darker, and I'm not squeezing my Aqua Painter anymore, so it's not as dark, or it's darker now. So I'm going around those same lines with the darker color. Now I'll go back to my more watercolored, and this one is a little bit darker, so you definitely can see the lines a little bit more, which for me is probably a little bit better because when I can see the lines a little bit better, I kind of know where to put more shadowing. And this is where it's fun to mix and match the colors, because right now I'm pretty much sticking to these big, I don't know what these could be. What flowers could these be? What are the ones? Peonies? Is it peonies? Yes, the ones that you can cut and I put in a bowl sometimes when we had peonies in my other house. I'll have to ask my husband to get peonies again. So I'm keeping it really light at first. And watercolored. So it's really faint. And then I can come in later with my darker shade. Now I'm going to go right into that deepest part. And again, I'll start in the center. And I'll follow along some of those lines. Some of the thinner pieces. And it's nice that the Aqua Painter comes to a little bit of a point. Now I'll also tell you, the Aqua Painters are no longer orderable. They're out. But have no fear. They will be back and even better. Because they're going to come out with, I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this or not, but a set of like 3, I think, Aqua Painters, and one will be even more of a broad that you could do like stripes and fun watercolor backgrounds, which is kind of a fun idea to me. Okay, so see how I'm kind of following the lines with the dark after I went in and colored it light. And again, you can add some more shading in there. Now, I'm going to dip it into the yellow a little bit and add just a little bit of bright. So you're warming up your flower a little bit. Say the sun's shining on it. And this is where, again, as an artist, I don't know really where to put that, but it's kind of fun to mix and match those colors. You can be brave and, and change it up if you need to. Use the orange to get this one. See, now when your Aqua Painter gets a little too dry, then the color doesn't blend as well. So you do want your Aqua Painter to be a little bit wet. But then sometimes it gets a little bit too wet. Amy, this isn't really easy for me. This is where I'm going outside the box showing you this. But I did want to at least encourage those of you who want to feel like artists, that you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it, because this is something I don't feel super confident in. So, thanks for saying I make it look easy. Now, to run off, I'm just using my Aqua Painter and running off that color on my scrap paper, and I'm going to use some green and blue. So I want some of the leaves to be a little bit like a more bluish tint, and then some a little bit more green. Now, if I get more blue in there, I might just start with the veins. No, mine's too dry. This is where the Aqua Painters, you kind of have to play with how wet is it, and how wet do you want it to be. Find some of my other. This one doesn't have a whole lot of the leaves. And as you keep going, I mean, it gets lighter as you keep watercoloring. Come on, get wetter. See, mine's going back and forth between being too wet and being too dry. All right, I'm going to try to hurry up. My battery just said it's already low. I think I must need a new phone, because I like literally just charged it before this so it wouldn't die on me. There's a leaf here. Find the vein, do that first, then bring in the green. There's another one. See, I kind of went back to some other leaves before I went back in here. So you've got dark, some dark and light contrast. It's kind of nice to add that in the background. And then I'll swipe the color off again, and I just want some yellow. These flowers to be yellow by the side here. And they're kind of trumpet flower, I don't know what you would call these flowers. I'm also not the most awesome gardener, so I don't really know the names of flowers. Let's see, these are the same, so I'll color those in yellow. And that's where it's nice. You still have that slight Sahara sand outline, so you know where you should be coloring. And I'm going to go back in, let's see, with even a dark, the red. And I'm going to go in just the centers of that. And make those little centers red. So again, mixing and matching colors can be fun. And see, when you get it wet enough with the watercolor paper, it will kind of bleed. So, isn't that fun? And then later you can go in and you can make this where I had a little bit of, when you mix your red and your blue together, you get a little bit of a violet purple. And that's where you can come in and just put little, I think I overdid it in my other one, little spots where you've got some shadowing, even in the centers. So let me tell you, does this seem overwhelming to you? Does it feel like, when I started doing this, I was like, it's, even though I didn't really love exactly how my everything turned out, I still found this to be relaxing because it was fun to see the colors kind of meld and come together. So watercoloring can be just a really relaxing thing, and that's fun when you've got those primary colors. Like I said, you can kind of mix. Hey Leah, this is the hardest project that I've showed you, is doing a little bit of watercoloring here. I'm going to add a little bit of shadowing in the center of this. And see, the more, I should just stop with the violet. But if you get it really light, and say I keep a little bit of my blue or a little bit of the violet, like with this card, I wanted to kind of keep the flowers to look white, but it's nice to have, to make it look watercolored still. I mean, it's almost just white. I've got a little bit of the blue in there, but I'm spreading it out and making it wet first, and then you can add a little bit of that blue in there just for a little bit of shading, right? And so this one too. Ooh, I got too much blue in there. That's all right. I'm just going to keep it really pale. And then add a yellow center. So you could really do these any color you want, right? Anything. Add a little bit of purple in there, in the center of it. All right, so I'm not going to watercolor the whole thing, but this is just showing you. And every time you watercolor this way, so you stamp in Sahara sand first, the way that you mix your colors together, it's going to look so much differently. I think I added a lot more red into my flower, where this one's a lot more the orangey color. So, but again, following those lines, those are just different ways to use that watercolor technique. And just a few different colors. Now after it's all colored in, I can add this little frame over it, and it looks like just a painting. So, was that relaxing to you girls to watch, or was that totally like overwhelming? Like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to watercolor like that. And that's why typically I am the lazy watercolor, which I'm going to go back to my favorite thing, which is the Pigment Sprinkles, which is why I cannot believe they are retiring the Pigment Sprinkles. Because I showed you at the very beginning, literally just sprinkling a few sprinkles over the flowers that I embossed in white, and then just spritzing it with water, and voila, there you get it. You have this beautiful creation. And that took just like seconds, right? Instead of watercoloring up that piece for like a half hour. So now one last final fun tip for when you have embossed something. I embossed this in the Poppy Parade. I'm going to take my same color of red, and I'm going to just lightly tap my paper over the ink pad. Okay, so pretty lightly, but it brings out some of what you've embossed then. And we're only going to see the edge because it's going to be covering most of it. And it's really okay if you get a little bit too much, but it's fun because when you tap down on the ink pad, it mostly just brings up the flowers that you have embossed on there, which is kind of fun. And today, oh my goodness, today I'm really getting my fingers good and coated. I guess that's a good stamping day, right? So it's fun. So you can see little lines there, but I'm going to be covering that up from when you do that. But that is a really fun way to bring out what you've embossed. I was really sad when Stampin' Up got rid of just our little, it was the little mini polka dotted. I still have it. Oh my goodness, are you still there? It's totally knocked down my camera. The excitement today. All right, because I used Mango Melody, I have that as the background of, or as the base of my cardstock for my card. And then we can just tape this down. Get all the sides good. And isn't that fun? It just brings out those flowers a little bit more than when it was just embossed. Get that down good. And then we can put this in the center or a little over the side. I think I would put it over to the side a little bit. And then just add a sentiment on there and voila. How fun. And this is still a little damp, so I don't think I'll put it on there quite yet. And I could put this, actually I think I like it tilted a little. Could put it tilted and then add a sentiment somewhere. But isn't that fun? Oh my goodness, the pigment sprinkles are just a really fast for, you know, the watercoloring for dummies kind of thing, which is why I love it, because I feel like I'm not a professional watercolor or artist. So the pigment sprinkles I love. Oh, my battery's down to 10%. So thanks, friends, for joining me. I'm glad a few joined in later. Just to review, this Breathtaking Bouquet stamp set, this background is retiring. It's going to be gone. I think all stamp sets, they guarantee to be around till like the middle of May, and then those will also be gone. So I hope you liked my little review. And look at embossing folders too. So I showed you guys how to emboss, leaving a little strip, emboss one side, then the other side, and leave a little open space. And that's a beautiful way to use your embossing folders a little bit differently, not to just emboss the whole front. This other one too, I just embossed the side and left some open space. It's a fun way to use your embossing folder. And I showed you this using our Shimmer white cardstock, using the sponge roller, sponging, starting at the bottom and pressing harder on the bottom and then moving up and adding a little bit of that color before you emboss your white paper. But adding that color is kind of fun. So here's purples and greens. I did the green one for you. And showed you lots of different ways to color. So we did this Pigment Sprinkles, and I showed you already the purple one I made using Pigment Sprinkles. Again, I love Pigment Sprinkles. Can't love it enough. I showed you a really easy way to do it in 2 different colors, the background. And then watercolor, easy watercolor in 1 color, the Bermuda Bay, and that was embossed in gold. And some of those embossing powders are retiring. Teresa, I think it's called Bird Ballad. It's either Bird Ballad designer paper or Free as a Bird designer paper. Let me see if I can find the name of the paper. Bird Ballad. Magnolia. Bird Ballad. Oh yes, it's Bird Ballad designer paper. And Teresa, it's also on sale right now. So Bird Ballad designer paper is the name of the paper. It really is pretty. So I showed you sponging after you emboss. I embossed white on just Whisper White, and sponging over it gives it a totally different look. Watercoloring over a darker neutral. So this was on Smoky Slate. I embossed in white and then watercolored over a darker color. Then the really crazy, if you want to be like an artist, watercoloring the flowers and do a whole watercolor. Stamping it in a lighter color first, and that's the no line art. So that is just a little bit of a review. Again, if you loved that Breathtaking Bouquet and you want to get it before it's gone, if you would like the cling mount, that's something you can use with your Stamparatus. It's $151,612, it's $16, or the wood mount that I was using is $152,201, that's $20. And those Pigment Sprinkles is $149,663, and they are on sale right now, 30% off for $16.10. I would totally, those are going to last you forever, because you really don't have to sprinkle a whole lot on and then spritz it, and it's so much fun. But the Pigment Sprinkles are best, like I told you, with the watercolor paper. Really do work best. Some final things before I go is Facebook, Stampin' Up! Is actually going to do a Facebook virtual party, and anyone is invited. How fun. But you do have to be accepted. You just have to kind of click on first. So if you look up Stampin' Up! Virtual party, look that up in Facebook. It'll just say, are you a demonstrator or are you a customer? So you'll just say, I'm a customer if you're a customer. If you're a demonstrator, because some of you are demonstrators under me, just click on that you're a demonstrator, and you have to agree to a few different rules of be kind, you don't promote yourself, a few different things like that. But I'm excited because that's this Thursday, so that's tomorrow. Thursday's already tomorrow. The last day of April is already tomorrow, guys. I can't believe this. So 8 p.m. Central Time. It's 7 p.m. Mountain Time, so I'm pretty sure I have the right time there. 8 p.m. Tomorrow night. If you want to come along, I'm excited. I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but they'll show some product and do some fun things. And then Friday afternoon, if you have any of the Come Sail Away stuff, I'm going to do my virtual class. For those of you who bought my class and I got to you the pre-cut stuff, so you are ready to go. But if you didn't even order the class from me, you can still look and come along and join me and see what we make with the Come Sail Away live class. Because I did also want to say the Come Sail Away, the Memories and More pack, they just did put on sale. I think it's only like $7 now for the whole, it's like 50 cards, which is so cool in the card pack, which will make you a ton of cards. So today is the last day to use this hostess code, but you can go to my website anytime. What it does when you use the hostess code is just gives my hostess, who's Judy this month, more free stuff. So she would appreciate that. So BYERBJ7K is the hostess code, but that's only good till tomorrow. I'll have new hostess codes for May. So if you don't use that code, that's fine. But you can always go to thedrewdaily.stampinup.net if you want or need anything, and you can order online. It's pretty easy to just order. And when you shop, when you click on shop now, you can look up anything. It'll say what are the last chance products, so you can click to the side. It will give you clearance rack stuff, so always check out the clearance rack too, because there's stuff that's even like 40 to 65 to 70% off in the clearance rack, which is awesome. But check out our last chance products, because a lot of things like that beautiful bird ballad paper and more are on sale just now. So thanks guys for stopping by. I love you all and hope you have a wonderful rest of your this kind of dreary day, but I hope that you coming along and seeing some of these bright colors brighten your day. That is part of my goal, is just to help you forget for a little bit the insanity that we're in right now, that I'm in right now with all my 4 boys being home with me all the time. Even though I love them, it can feel a little bit insane. So I also encourage you to just get outside. I mean, maybe not today, but like yesterday was a sunny day, and I forced all my boys to come out, and we walked to or biked to Rogers Lakewood Park, and it really is therapeutic to get outside and get fresh air. It helped me not feel so insane. So hugs to you all, and I will see you, maybe some of you, I'll see you on the virtual party tomorrow night, and maybe some of you will stop by on Friday as well when I do the little Come Sail Away class. So have a wonderful Wednesday, guys. Thanks so much. Bye.